would like to welcome CEO of Code.org, Hadi Partovi, and Ravi Kumar, the moderator for the next panel.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Hadi. So the next session is about preparing America for tomorrow. What a great prelude to this session. The previous session was about the Infosys Foundation and what they do. I have a very high-profile panel which is going to come on the stage, and to stay on time, I'm going to get them on stage and then introduce you to them. So let's have the panel on stage.
Now?
So can I have the governor, Eric Holcomb, the governor of Indiana, on stage?
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming the Honorable Eric Holcomb, 51st Governor of the State of Indiana, Dr. Michael McRobbie, President of Indiana University, and Dr. Vishal Sikka, CEO of Infosys.
Thank you.
I think you're here. Oops.
Yep.
I've got no seat.
Yep. Musical chairs.
So preparing America for tomorrow is all about talent and innovation. Talent is all about building skills of the future. Talent and innovation actually are very intertwined in many ways. In fact, at Infosys, we believe innovation is at the grassroots. So you cannot talk about one without the other. As we are going through this journey, this journey of transformation with our clients, disruptive transformation with our clients, powered by technology, we do realize that the talent pools by itself are distinctively dichotomous in these days. On one side, on one end, Vishal spoke about it in his session in the morning. We have large customers of ours with systems, processes, maintaining, running, and operating those systems with us, going through an extreme embrace of automation and an extreme embrace of high offshoring. That's one extreme. On the other extreme, we do see disruptive technologies, new technologies actually getting adapted into our client landscapes. These new technologies would need very, very agile workspaces, closer to clients, high touch, co-creation with clients, innovation with clients. And therefore, our model of execution to these projects is morphing from an on-site offshore model, as you call it in the traditional services world, to an on-site nearshore offshore model. And these nearshore centers are actually going to be those hubs for talent and innovation. And we believe these disruptive technologies, which are going to change the operating model of our large customers, which are going to change the business models of our large customers, are going to be those hubs. And the 4 innovation and technology hubs we actually announced earlier this month, and Vishal spoke about it during his session, are all about building and preparing America for the future in some ways. We are going to hire 10,000. We are going to hire 10,000 in the next 2 years in America. And these hubs are going to really house that talent. So we've been preparing for this for a while, actually. Vishal spoke about zero distance, inculcating the culture of innovation. We spoke about delayering our organization, getting closer to our clients, embrace of design thinking, which kind of actually puts us on a journey of problem finding. All of those were foundational pillars on which we actually thought these innovation hubs are going to be housed. But the challenge is there isn't enough talent available in these new technologies which is going to redefine how corporations are actually going to operate. And our endeavor is to work with the government, with nonprofits, with academia, around these hubs which we are going to create and build the talent for the future. And this is going to probably be repeated in every large market we operate, starting with North America. So my first panelist, the distinguished Honorable Governor of Indiana, the 51st Honorable Governor of Indiana, Mr. Eric Holcomb. He's been, we experienced the legendary Indiana hospitality in the last few weeks since we got associated with you as Infosys. Governor Holcomb had actually been on multiple roles in the government, including being a lieutenant governor before he became the governor for the then governor, Mike Pence. Has been very kind to host our first center at Indiana. We launched it on the 2nd of May, and we're very excited about being associated with Indiana and the ecosystem around it. My first question to you is, you've been attracting a lot of businesses to Indiana. It's almost becoming the vibrant technology hub of the Midwest. I want to know what makes companies come to Indiana. And I know that Salesforce announced last week, and you're making announcements every week. And I kind of think, the governor actually told me the speed of government should be equal to the speed of business. And I think he's created a new normal on the speed of business in many ways. If you can tell us a little bit about what your vision of Indiana is, why it's being considered by large corporations, including Infosys, to be the tech hub of the Midwest.
Well, thank you, Ravi. I mean, two big, important questions that have profound implications, but you have to get them both right. And we've been at this business for over a decade now that I've been associated with the government in one capacity or another. And we focused and made sure that we were doing first things first, that we were getting our house in order, our fiscal house in order, that we were trying to win that fiscal beauty pageant every year, if you will. And so now we're attractive in that sense. So we have a AAA credit rating, we have honestly balanced budgets, we have about $2 billion in reserves in our savings account. These things all make for a very attractive place and get you a lot of looks. We're a low tax climate, a reasonable regulatory environment. Again, something that gets the looks, but I think that the depth at which we are interested in attracting companies and the type of companies that we're seeking to attract really speak to how far we will go at developing our community by community throughout our whole state. And so when you start to invest, every time I talk with, whether it was with you or any potential company, I want folks to know that Indiana is going to make equal investments in our people as well, because that is your workforce. And that has a compounding effect in a very positive way. And so in addition to the balance sheet, if you will, of our state books and our ability to, we just came out of our budget session, ended at the end of April, and we created more capital that would be available, created a $250 million next level fund that we can throw at scaling up companies, new startup companies. So we're sending the message that we are looking into the future, that we're looking at, even though we are a state that just celebrated our bicentennial, our 200th year last December, we have excelled at growing things for those 200 years, at making things. We're the #1 manufacturing state per capita in the country. Great foundation. But we know we have to, if we're going to continue to not just occupy that pole position, but create real separation between us and the competition, we have to continue to keep the pedal to the metal. And we have to become a state that, in addition to excelling at the trades, at growing and making things, we have to be a leader in innovating and creating. And I would submit to you, and I hope you're finding out, that you can do it in Indiana unlike virtually any other place in the country. We are literally in the middle of it all. We're right in the mix of it all. And you can be connected to the rest of the country or the world, whether it's you're running your factory from your phone or our roads and bridges, our rail, or our ports. We are focused on making sure that that foundation of which you will launch your business is a sturdy foundation. And then you'll know that we're going to be seeking to accent all those positives with investments in pre-K, K through 12, making sure that your workforce, our state workforce, is skilled up for those jobs of the future. I think one of the most important things governors can do in today's world is make sure that we are prepared for what's coming, even the unknown, making sure that we're skilled up and have the educational background to meet those challenges of the future. And so that's why we continue to be very aspirational.
Is the geographical location also acting to your advantage?
It's location, location, location. You know, you can get your products, whatever you create, grow, innovate, to 70% of the nation's population within a 24-hour drive, if you're driving. You can get it there within...
You can actually sell a small apartment in San Francisco and buy a huge mansion.
Well, yeah, you know, talk about the cost of living. Look, I mean, you know, if you're in San Francisco and you go 10 miles in any direction, you're talking maybe an average of $3,800 a month for rent. In Indianapolis, it's $914. If you're talking about commuting, I'll give you a lot of your time back. It's sometimes commuting in some of the bigger areas that have some infrastructure challenges is like a part-time job in and of itself. We don't have those congestion problems because we've invested. In fact, we've said, what will the world look like in 20 years? We need to be prepared for that, and we need to be doing that now. And we're doing that. So we've got a fully funded infrastructure program for the next 20 years, paid for. And those are huge advantages when we're going out and we're seeking to bring back business, which really equates to more opportunity for more people. And with our partnership now with Infosys, we're talking about companies that are going to improve the quality of life. And so if we can focus on that stellar balance sheet, that quality of place, and then with partnershiping with our universities, with our institutes, we can improve the quality of life for the folks that are calling Indiana home.
And how do you see governments playing a role in reshaping the talent needs of the future? Frankly, the kind of talent we're talking about is not available. We have to co-create, and we have to organically co-create and refactor talent as we go forward. And I know that the government has a huge platform to reach out to various constituents in the ecosystem and to orchestrate that for companies like Infosys, which are actually in an endeavor to build those talent pools in the future.
Well, it's all about constant collaboration and partnerships and formalizing those partnerships, institutionalizing them, working with them on a day in and day out basis, not, again, thinking someone else is going to do it for you or it'll just happen or good enough is good enough. We've come a long way, but we didn't come this far to only come this far, and we know what's out there. So we've got organizations like TechPoint who work with the tech community, who foster and who attract that talent, who are surveying folks, who are providing internships in the tunes of thousands of folks that are maybe thinking they want to work for one of our world-class companies, Cummins or Eli Lilly or Anthem, among Salesforce, Infosys. We've got this industry that has been built up over the years. Honda, Toyota, Subaru, BP, the list goes on and on and on virtually. And every sector is, whether it's biosciences, whether it's logistics, whether it's ag, it's that industry plus tech. And so we have to embrace that, and the state government and local government, quite frankly, has to work with all of our partners on a day in and day out basis to make sure that we're addressing what those demands of the future really are.
Thank you, Governor. Actually, you've set the pace of this partnership. We're so excited about it. We announced on the 2nd of May. We got the physical facility inaugurated yesterday. We made that announcement yesterday. We knew that you were going to be here, so we made it yesterday. And actually, the governor did the inauguration, flew into San Francisco from yesterday evening, and we got the first 10 offers out for Indiana. So the Indianapolis center already has 10 offers even before the office is up and running. So we're holding up to your pace. In fact, we started conversations with the governor and the team of the governor, which is in the audience, just in February, actually February end. And in March first week, they were in India. I was saying this in my inauguration speech. And by May, we had the center inaugurated. So I have not seen governments run at this pace. Thank you so much for your support.
And you know, we share the whole lifelong learning commitment, and so what's occurring in Mysore and what's occurring in Indiana, I've often said that you can't spell Indiana or Indiana University for that matter without starting with India. And so we want to make sure that that partnership continues to strengthen as the weeks.
Are you excited about Indy 500 this weekend?
I will be there, but I will not be racing.
And what about the challenge you posed to Vishal on putting him on a race car?
Well, I will have a picture of Vishal's expression as he is topping 200. And that will go viral.
So thank you, Governor. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to that.
So Vishal, my next question is to you. Vishal has been the architect of this entire US talent plan, if I may, or the innovation and technology hubs. When I first went to him with this plan, I had a half-hearted plan, and Vishal doesn't do anything in halves. He said, just double that number and come back. So we're doing 10,000 hires in the US in the next 2 years into these innovation and technology hubs, which are going to be the powerhouses for zero distance, as we call it. How do you see these hubs evolving? And I truly believe this model is going to morph from an on-site offshore model to an on-site nearshore offshore model. And I'm sure you had a vision and a plan to when you said this. And with Indiana, this is the first one we're doing. We have at least 4 more to go. What was your plan and what was your idea of doing this?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ravi. And Governor, a warm welcome again. Ravi talked about the speed at which the governor and his team work. It has really been extraordinary to work with you and already to see the results that your team has been able to achieve. Just in the last 3 months, we have gone to where we are, and you can tell from the Indy 500 and from the governor's remarks that he is a speed kind of a guy, and I think we love to work with that speed. He has offered me to drive if my wife, who is sitting here, and Ranga, our head of risk and finance, if they authorize me to drive on the speedway, I'm really looking forward to that. And but that speed is really what it is all about, Ravi, and zero distance, agility. You also heard Meg talk about it earlier. We need to build these centers to be able to operate at speed, to be able to help our businesses, help our clients operate at speed. So these centers are going to be all about that, all about zero distance to the clients. In Indiana, we have, of course, the great clients of ours who are based in Indiana, some amazing life sciences, healthcare, insurance, and financial services, and also manufacturing companies. But we also have an amazing ecosystem of universities, and President McRobbie is here from Indiana University, Purdue, Notre Dame, Ball State, an amazing community college ecosystem. So the students, the businesses, and a great business climate, as the governor talked about, all coming together enable that zero distance. And of course, a critical piece of that is the overall ecosystem, and what Hadi has been doing with code.org and the enabling of that skills and so forth in the broader ecosystem. So all of this has to come together. And starting with Indiana, in all the hubs that we put together in the US, these elements will come together. They will all be about zero distance. They will all be about creativity, about creating an inspired workforce, a great working environment, an environment that is not an oppressive environment, but an environment that is a contributory environment where people can come and feel that it is an open, a welcoming space where they can contribute, where they can create writable desks, writable walls, open floor plans, things of this nature. And one critical thing about these hubs that we will put together is that they are not just places where people work and co-create futures, but they are places where they learn. So training and skilling and learning is going to be an integral part of it, working together with universities and organizations like code.org, the work that our foundation does, as Vandana talked about earlier, but also working with companies like Udacity and Coursera and others to help bring that new kind of learning into that. So these hubs are all about innovation, about the future, about co-creativity, about speed and agility, about being in constant contact with the outside atmosphere, and bringing together these elements of business, of the universities, of the broader ecosystem in a great inspiring environment.
So Vishal, just to give you my Friday progress report to you on the 10,000, we've done 800 already.
Wow.
We have actually got 300 from schools in the US already on board. We're very excited about evaluating options in terms of using university infrastructure to help us on the finishing school, as we call it, the one equivalent in Mysore. And we're going to work with university ecosystems to ramp that up. In many ways, we do believe that that was one of the reasons how we created talent in India. Almost for 2 decades now, we've been running that infrastructure. So we're going to replicate that either by co-partnering with university ecosystems or running something centrally out here. But it is going to be a local facility. We're signing up with Udacity and other firms to bring the content in. We're getting the first set of batches done in universities in and around Indiana. And this is going to be a very exciting journey. I think this is going to be the future of skills and talent, which doesn't exist today. It is an organic way of building talent of the future. Last year, we did 150 campus hires. We sent them all the way to Mysore, and we realized that's not scalable. Great experience. I think they're already in our projects, and we do believe that a significant part of our 10,000 is going to come from schools, refactoring talent, and actually building talent which doesn't exist today from various parts of the ecosystem. My next panelist is President Michael McRobbie, the president of Indiana University. Michael McRobbie was voted as the most top 10 popular university presidents in 2012. A popular voting, I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
He's on a mission to invigorate the Indiana university ecosystem. 9,000 faculty, 11,000 staff, 120,000 students. By 2020, he has a 2020 vision of, and that's the 200th year of Indiana University, I'm told, bicentennial year celebrations in 2020.
Just after the state, yeah.
And I would like to know, I wanted to ask you a question about how do you see the future of talent? I was just reading this report. Every year in China, 4.5 million STEM graduates come out. In India, 2.5 million STEM graduates come out. The number of graduates is almost the same in the US, India, and China, if you take the aggregate. But the number of STEM graduates coming out is much higher. In the US, it is 500,000. And just to make it look bad, Russia does 500,000 as well. So the pool of talent is so small. And one of the reasons why there was a large leverage of global talent was because the pool of talent was so small. And even if the talent was available, the STEM talent was available, even if you assume that's the talent for computer programming and technology jobs, it did not go through the finishing school to be production ready for technology projects. How do you see the university ecosystem partnering with firms like Infosys? And we believe we are a pioneer in this space of actually building organic talent pools. Just wanted to hear your thoughts.
So I think with respect to universities in the modern digital age, one of the most important things that we have to do, obviously, is to realize just how utterly pervasive information technology is. There's no discipline from anthropology to zoology that is not affected by information technology, whether it's at the research level or the education level. Everything utilises it to greater or lesser degree. So information technology literacy among the students, the graduates of the university is a prime component of their education at the university. Now, one of the key things we did that I think in hindsight has turned out to be a real major win for us was in about 2000 we established a school of informatics. And why this differed from computer science was that it was focused just on the applications of information technology in certain disciplines, medical informatics, bioinformatics, chemical informatics, and so on as well. And it actually reminds me, I just got back from Europe last night, having a meeting with one of our alums who's the CTO of one of Europe's biggest companies who said that his daughter, who went to one of this country's finest universities, had just finished a computer science degree, and he said to her, well, why don't you go and do a PhD? And she said, Dad, computer science is so 1990s. And what she meant by that was that she was interested in the applications. There's always going to be a need for some people who are experts in compiler theory and complexity theory and the other real core stuff. But the great bulk of people are people who can actually apply the technology and use the technology. So that's what our School of Informatics was. And it grew from nothing in 2000 to now over 4,000 students. Last year we graduated over 1,000 students in bachelor's degrees, master's, certificates, PhDs from that school. And the growth rate is such that probably we'll see a further 50% increase over the next 5 years in that school. Now, if you put that on top of our School of Business, which also graduates just in IT, and again, we have a very large School of Business, which just graduates people in the various IT disciplines, that's another 1,000 plus who we just graduated last year. We graduated 21,000 students over the last month at the university, so we're obviously a large place. So put those two together, and in 1 year's graduation, we can meet all your personnel needs. So it's I think it's indicative of the scale. All of those students, all of them get jobs. I mean, 97% of them are employed within months of graduating. But then when you look more broadly at the institution, one of the key things also about universities is we have to be constantly looking at the opportunities to restructure ourselves to provide the students with what they want as opposed to what we think they want. For example, for years we maintained a separate School of Journalism, a separate Department of Telecommunications, a separate Department of Communications and Culture, and a separate Film Studies program. And our students said, look, we want to do a composite degree that enables us to do all or some of all of those together. So a couple of years ago, we finally were able to merge all those, form a new media school. Again, it's been hugely successful and hugely popular for us, almost double the number of students there. Again, because we recognize that in a digital world, the media is a continuum. You cannot silo the various components of it. You have to view it as a whole. The students know that. This is a generation that grew up digital. They understand that. It just took a while for the university to be able to react to provide the students with what they want. So it's those kinds of initiatives and changes that I think are actually providing the kinds of students that the digital economy wants. And I'll say one more thing. I think this is a very important point. One sees, and has seen in recent years, a lot of criticism in this country of a liberal arts education. What's so ironic about that, I mean, just having got back from discussions with the equivalent of my position, presidents and rectors in Europe, traveling regularly overseas, mixing with other presidents and rectors at other universities, the rest of the world is incredibly envious and jealous of the power of a liberal arts education to produce those kinds of creative, flexible, and innovative students that who are the people who have the brilliant ideas completely out of left field, who completely change the way the world is. I was with a number of Chinese university presidents, some of the very best universities in China a few years ago, And one of them says, look, we've poured tens of billions of dollars into our universities to build really first-rate institutions. We have hired people back and what have you, yet we're still not producing the kinds of students that you're producing in the United States. So we've studied your system, and we realized that what's really needed is a liberal arts education. So that's what we're going to be introducing. You'll see that a lot of the major Chinese universities have done exactly that. So the irony is, just when it comes under criticism in this country, the rest of the world says this is what we need to be able to catch the very best institutions in the United States.
Thank you, President. My next panelist is Hadi Partovi, the CEO of Code.org. Hadi actually did his computer science from Harvard University, was a part of two startups which he has incubated, and is the full-time CEO of Code.org. I heard you have a twin brother. Does he look very similar to you? Or?
No, I'm running Code.org by myself, but we are extremely close. We launched it together.
We launched it together. Code.org, along with Infosys Foundation, has gone through this journey. Vandana met Hadi in 2015, and the entire plan was to evangelize computer science education. Hadi has actually connected to 20% of schools in the US on computer education. He's been an evangelist of the K-12 computer curriculum. He ran a global hour of code to connect to 100 million children. Was that right? Or 100 million children, that's a huge number. One of the preconceived notions, at least it's not there as much in India now, and I think Infosys played a big role in demystifying it, is you don't need to have a STEM degree to really do programming. Programming is so foundational. Computer science is so foundational. Vandana spoke about it as well. It is so foundational. And in fact, there is a Forbes statistic which talks about 35% of the workforce in the technology space doesn't have a STEM degree. So I just wanted to understand from you, how does the foundation and Code.org come together to evangelize this, and to evangelize or demystify that you don't need to be a STEM grad, you need to have the right aptitude and analytical skills to build a profession in computer sciences and build a profession in technology.
Sure. Well, our focus is on K through 12. We're talking here, with Vishal and the level of employees in the workforce or the university system. What Code.org does is focus at school before the students even go to university. At the K-12 system, students aren't thinking whether they're going to be a STEM graduate or not. They're just taking biology, chemistry, math, just the courses that school puts in front of them. And the problem we're trying to solve is that America's schools don't teach computer science. And this is a problem that makes no sense in the 21st century. We're in a time when the future of entertainment is in virtual reality. The future of transportation is in autonomous vehicles. The future of data analysis is in machine learning. With the problems of cybersecurity threatening all of our businesses and our country, literally the future of every company in every sector is intertwined with technology. Technology jobs have now become the largest sector of new wages in this country, and also the fastest growing, and yet the majority of our schools don't teach computer science. That makes no sense. This is a problem we're not just evangelizing to solve, we are leading a teacher-led movement to actually solve it. Code.org, thanks to the support of the Infosys Foundation, has now become the largest provider of computer science curriculum in the entire country and even worldwide. And it's not just in 20% of schools. 20% of America's students have started coding on Code.org. Later this year, we actually are going to announce a pretty amazing milestone. By the end of this year, we'll be able to announce 20 million students coding on Code.org, of which 10 million are girls and 10 million are Black and Hispanic students. We're not quite there yet. We're very, very close. But when we get there, it'll be an amazing achievement for the American public education system to have 10 million girls learning to code in America's schools and 10 million African Americans. Now, that's not just the success of Code.org, it's the success of many nonprofits and most importantly, the success of America's schools and America's teachers. And it's something that's been supported entirely by tech companies and tech foundations. High among them is the Infosys Foundation, which, when I first met Vandana, and she told me about the Infosys Foundation, we immediately aligned on our vision of every student in every school needing to have the opportunity to learn computer science. And one thing most people don't realize, the Infosys Foundation is not only the first foundation, it's the only foundation in this country to focus on teaching computer science in schools. There's so many other education foundations out there, the Gates Foundation, the Knight, MacArthur, Broad, Carnegie, Rockefeller. Not a single one of them is investing in computer science. The Infosys Foundation is supporting every nonprofit that's pushing forward computer science education in our school system because it's so critical to our nation's future, to our children's future. But what I would say is, we've reached now 20% of students. There's 80% of students left. That's not something that should be just left up to the tech industry and tech companies and tech foundations to support. At some point, our children's education is at least funded by the government. And when you have states with an amazing balance sheet and a surplus looking to invest, I would urge you and every other state to invest in computer science education in schools. This is the fastest area of economic growth, not just in tech jobs. Every job is going to have a technology component. And so every student needs to have at least a basic understanding, just like they have of biology or chemistry or photosynthesis, the types of things you learn in school, understanding the internet, understanding an algorithm, understanding how an app works. Our students can learn this stuff as early as elementary school. What's missing is the funding in schools to prepare the existing teachers to teach it. You don't need software engineers or rocket scientists to teach this. You need teachers to do it. And this is something that states can support and fund. It takes a small amount of investment, but a huge return. In our country as a whole, we don't need to bring tech jobs back. There's so many sectors where we're trying to bring jobs back. The tech sector is just creating jobs like there's no tomorrow. In the next 5 years, we're going to have 1 million new tech jobs created. Infosys just recently announced 10,000 new jobs. In a state like Indiana, right now there's 4,500 open jobs in tech. We just heard about another 2,000. The tech sector across all industries is creating these jobs. We need to invest in the education side to prepare America's students for the opportunity to get into these jobs.
Thank you, Hadi.
Thank you.
So Governor, we had a great experience with community colleges.
Yes.
And just to tee it up with what Hadi just spoke about, we do believe that there is a potential talent pool out there. We did 15% of our hiring in last campus batches from community colleges. We had a different intervention mechanism though. I wanted to kind of ask you a question about how do you see the community college infrastructure enabling this transformation, because that's a huge student body with associate degrees, much bigger impact to the society because they potentially, a lot of them are doing their first jobs in their families. It also adds to the diversity quotient which Hadi spoke about. I just want to take a view of how the government can help us on enabling and bringing that workforce into the technology sector.
Well, critically important, we have statewide community college, Ivy Tech, it's known as, in Indiana. We also recognize that over the next decade, we're going to have to replace 1 million jobs, due in part to baby boomers retiring and then jobs that just need to be refilled and replaced. And Ivy Tech is literally on the front lines, as is Vincennes University, another one of our schools that's leaning into training and retraining. We know that there are tens of thousands of job openings in addition to those that we have to replace, tens of thousands of high-wage, high-demand jobs right now that are available. And what we have to do and what we work to do a better job of each and every day is to make sure that we, as a state government, are providing the funding so that folks who maybe started school years ago and then life intervened or interrupted can go back, and that we can help them and that we can financially help them do that. But the community college is not only physically accessible in virtually every quadrant, obviously, of our state, but within an easy drive. And we have to make sure that the jobs, those high wage, high demand jobs that are just there waiting, that we're connecting people, that when a student graduates from high school, they are holding in their hand their ticket to success, whether that is going immediately into a career or getting that additional credential, or seeking higher education. We have to make sure that the state of Indiana is doing our part at the community college level, all the way up to our world-class flagship universities like Indiana and Purdue, and so on.
Thank you. Thanks, Governor. Vishal, you had this vision of these hubs really being the innovation hubs for us. Every project at Infosys actually has an innovation template or an innovation idea, and we have 15,000 of them. And 2,000 are actually deployed and executed at projects for our clients. They're deployed with clients. Do you see that journey accelerating, and it's going to the next level with these hubs, because we're going to have customers coming in there, working jointly with our client, with our employees. We're going to have a whole lot of a lot of our hubs in India are very vibrant on innovation, because they're really hubs of talent, and they're kind of talking to each other. They're kind of looking at other projects, what they're doing, and stuff like that. So do you see that evolving and taking over, and maybe this could be the catalyst we were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the growth of technology into the industries, into our business, I think all three of the panels, the governor talked about tech coming into all the different domains. Hardy talked about how technology and computing is making its way into every domain, and President McRobbie talked about this as well, about the role of computing as something that permeates everything. Similarly, I think that this breaking down of the silos, this breaking down of the stovepipes, is something that is fundamental to the way that we design these hubs and these workspaces. So we are going to design them for sharing, for collaborating, for co-creating, and things like this. So my sense is, if you look at zero distance and how we learn from each other, how we learn from looking at what the others are doing, we have, of course, tens of thousands of people in the United States today from Infosys, but they usually work inside the clients. By creating these hubs, these innovation hubs, we will accelerate the idea of innovation and zero distance significantly. And my own sense is that an atmosphere, Alan Kay has this saying that culture or context around us is worth 80 IQ points. So if we create a great context that is around us, that we work in, it elevates all of us. It makes us all that much better for it. Serendipitous connections, people doing design thinking, problem finding kinds of exercises, working together. It makes a profound difference. In Indiana, as the governor talked about, having the universities, the companies, all within close proximity makes a big difference to the ability to create, to innovate, to see what the others are doing, and then learn from that and build on that, standing on the shoulders of giants, if you will. So this is the idea, and in each of the centers, starting with the one in Indiana, this is what we are going to do.
In fact, President McRobbie, the more I interact with the university ecosystem locally, I do realize there's so much opportunity to co-create along with the university ecosystem. Specifically in Indiana, we have pharma, life sciences, manufacturing, very vibrant communities out there, and there's a great startup ecosystem as well. We do hope that the universities do play a vital role in this process, in this journey.
Yeah, I'm personally just delighted, as is the university, that Infosys is making this investment in Indiana, because what it does is provides, either informally or formally through internships and so on, it provides a mechanism where our students in the kinds of areas that I described before can get a sense of this extraordinarily wide range of different areas that Infosys covers, but in particular, what are the problems? What are the difficult issues? And when you're dealing with young students, they don't think anything's impossible. And this is the generation that's actually capable of coming up with enormously complicated, enormously creative solutions to some of these issues. So we've had a steadily growing tech sector in Indiana in recent years. I think what you said before is absolutely right. There's actually already a shortage of people to fill those jobs in the state and the rest of the nation, for that matter. And I think Infosys is going to be contributing to that tech ecosystem in the state, and that in turn will help build an even greater critical mass within the state, and I think will enable us in the universities to find more and more opportunities for collaboration with companies like Infosys.
Thank you. So we're really running out of time. If there's any question from the audience, we could take one or two.
And while we wait for that, Ravi, perhaps one of the things that I wanted to ask Hadi was, Hadi, how do you see getting to that remaining 80%? You mentioned the 80 is still something that is in front of us. Do you have any thoughts on what your role or the foundation's role, or frankly other organizations can do to cover that additional 80%?
So in terms of growing computer science in America's schools, first of all, I should say the pace at which America's schools have adopted this new field is record-breaking and unprecedented, and a fantastic, great story for our country and for our country's education system. So, most nonprofits talk about the doom and gloom about the problem. We're just so amazed at the growth and spread of computer science thanks to America's teachers learning this new field. But still, the majority of schools don't teach it. The most important things we need to get to all schools offering computer science is for states to say, you know what, we're going to establish a plan for having computer science in every school in the state, and to actually put some funding and support behind that plan. And I say that not because there aren't any other players, but because the other players are actually already there. The teachers are there, the will of the parents is there, the support of the tech companies is there, and in about 9 different states already have now made these kinds of plans. So whether it's Rhode Island, Arkansas, Alabama, Idaho, Utah, many states have made these plans to basically roll out computer science to the schools. And in those states, we're seeing a massive change in basically what's happening in the schools and what type of students are graduating. Not just because these students get into technology, but because these students are getting a modern education and they engage more in school because it relates more to their future. The problem that I always try to think about is our kids in school today, they're learning the same stuff our schools taught 100 years ago. And our world is changing so much. The kids realize that. They're sitting in school wondering, why am I learning long division? Like, nobody needs long division. Why are our schools still teaching over and over doing long division? Our schools are teaching typing, and the kids have learned how to type on Instagram or Snapchat or Minecraft, but they go to a class that teaches them how to browse the web. Modernizing education is something that can so dramatically change not just the workforce we have, but the student interest. And I think the biggest thing we need is the states to get behind this. In this country, education is driven at the state level. Actually, would love to ask you to work with us on it. One of the easiest ways you can start is to, one of the simplest things we've done with governors around the country is arranging a coding event in a classroom just in a symbolic way to participate in an hour of code with the classroom of students. You're sitting here amongst a bunch of computer scientists, so it's like slightly intimidating if you haven't coded yourself, but we'd invite you to try doing this with the classroom to see what it's like. And we can go from there to talk about what it would take to spread it throughout the state.
If you will throw in the hat and the socks,
I'm wearing code.org socks. I wasn't sure anybody would notice.
Yeah.
All right.
No, we'll do it.
Awesome.
So thank you so much. We've really run out of time. This is the start of a very interesting journey. I think this is very impactful for our clients, for the communities we work in, and for the markets we work in. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to working with all of you in collaborating and taking it to the next level. And this is going to be so exciting in the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panel, and thank you for